Thanks, Eric. So welcome to our 7th of our CI Leading the Way webinar series. Today we're going to be talking about reading a report, which Patricia is going to do the majority of that. We'll be covering deciphering status in HTML, reading credit report information, as well as criminal hit information, dispositions, and unchecking inquiries, and a little bit more as well. So I'm Rachel, and I'm an investigator as well as a business development associate. I also hold a advanced FCRA certification through the PBSA, which the PBSA is the Professional Background Screening Association, and they offer a program for background screening professionals to demonstrate their commitment to compliance for their organization. So we also have on here today, like I said, Patricia Riley. She's a lead investigator. She also holds an advanced certification through the PBSA, as well as the Criminal Research Provider certification. And then we also have Brittany Timber here with us. She's also a lead investigator and also holds her advanced FCRA certification through the PBSA. And additionally, we have Yvette Austin here. She is as well a lead investigator, also holds her advanced FCRA certification, as well as she's a licensed private investigator. And then, of course, we have our president, Michelle, on today, too. She also holds an advanced FCRA certification, and she is also a licensed private investigator. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If there's anyone that does want to just introduce themselves and who they're representing, quick, feel free to do so.
All right. I'm just going to get started and jump into this. Maybe. Okay. I'm going to back out of this. All right. So we're going to, like I said, Rachel said, we're going to be going over a couple different things. So this is the checked individuals list. Once you log in and you click on the reports and then the checked individuals list, this is the view that people see. So there's just a couple features on this page that I want to just kind of highlight and go over before we get into the actual reading of the report. We have 3 different links, hyperlinks right here. There's the summary, the HTML, and then the PDF view. The summary I find is extremely helpful. As you can see, our friend due diligence here is pending. And if you don't want to click into the HTML version of the full report, which opens in a new tab, and it's our full interactive version of the report, you can just click on the summary here. It's going to take a second because this is my master report. It's got almost every inquiry that we run. But this is just a quick glance to see where they are and what the disposition status are of each of the inquiries that we have. So we have complete clear or complete hits when it's criminal information. We have what we call a cyber investigation. We have 2 different levels of that. Level 2 is a little more involved than our level 1. So for level 2, if we find any information on an individual, it'll be a green status and it'll say information found. Or if we're unable to really find anything on them and they have no social media presence at all whatsoever, it'll say no information found, but it'll be a green one as well. So those are just kind of different ones that we have. The same for our references, our employment and our education verifications. You'll either see a complete verified or a complete discrepancy. And then I have one in here just so that you can see that what it says when it's pending. So it shows you that it's pending and it's unknown. So I'm actually going to complete that one out in a minute because there's another feature that I want to go over. So this is just a quick overview of what's happening in the report, just at a quick glance. So when you want to close that, you would just hit the close button. If you click on the HTML, which the default for the software is HTML for our clients, that default view. So anywhere in this line, if you click on it, you don't have to click this hyperlink. You can just click the name, you can click pending, you can click anywhere in this line for this individual, and it'll actually take you to our HTML version of the page. And like I said, it opens it into a new tab. So here's our HTML version. This, like I said, is our interactive version. This is where you can find the pre-adverse and adverse action letter templates that download into Word files, any customer service inquiries, different actions that you can actually complete on your end. And because I'm a SysUp, I'm just going to complete this because I wanted to show you one thing. We'll complete this one out. I'm actually going to go quickly back into my checked individuals list once that finishes loading. Just make sure. Okay. So I'm going to refresh my list. Oh, and then my note disappeared. Because I can't type today. All right. Oh, I was stuck that back, and then we're going to refresh one more time. Okay, so you're in your checked individuals list, and this is where I just wanted to highlight something. So we have something that we call a disposition status, and these are just little notes that we will leave at the top of a report for you. So if there is a disclosure and it's not reportable, so if it's not a misdemeanor or felony conviction, we wouldn't be able to report it under FCRA. So this is somewhere where we'll put, hey, they made a disclosure, it's not reportable, there's no further information, just so that you know, like, you'll see that disclosure in there. However, we can't give it to you because of FCRA. It's not a felony or misdemeanor conviction. Other notes that we'll put in there are if the Social Security verification, if it's not verified through our original database. So it'll say like unable to verify the Social Security number. So those are just things to look for when you're going through. So that's just what we call our disposition status. It's just a little note from us to the client to let them know of different things that are in the report that may not show up or may have not verified correctly. So again, this is our HTML version of the report. This gives you the full status of everything happening. And like I said before, it's interactive. It has those pre-adverse and adverse actions and the customer service inquiry. So if you have a question about a specific file, you can type in your question and submit that. That goes directly to our staff email account, which is monitored daily. Brittany usually handles most of the monitoring, but we all usually pitch in here and there, or if there's questions that one of us can answer, then we'll hop in and answer those questions for you. Within the HTML report, there is also the PDF. So we have the color and then the printer-friendly version of the report. And I'm going to pull up my PDF version. It's going to take a minute just because this is, like I said, this is my big bulky report here. And this is kind of what I want to get into, the meat of how to read the report. So this is the PDF version of the report. This is our physical manifestation of our product that we give to you. You'll see that it has, subject information at the top and then the executive summary. Typically for our clients who aren't running every single inquiry, this usually ends up on one page or maybe one page and then a page and a half, because this is my, like I said, this is my master report where I have almost everything that we run. It's pretty lengthy and it's a spread over multiple pages here. So you'll see usually the executive summary is just right on this page here, or it extends to the next page. And again, this is kind of a quick view status. It's the PDF manifestation of that HTML report view where it tells you what the statuses of each inquiry are, whether or not there's hits, whether or not they're verified or discrepancy, whether they're clear, and exactly what was searched. So like the civil for Albany or the DMV lens or credit. So this is your kind of quick glance, what's happening. For more details, you would go further into that report. So we're actually going to scooch down. So first, I'm just going to quickly go over a couple things in our credit report. Right here, you'll see, so if you run a credit report, this is what the credit report looks like within our actual physical report. And this box right here gives you a really quick, brief snapshot of what's happening in this credit report. So current negative accounts, so any account that is currently negative, if there's any previous, it tells you how many are previously negative, any trade accounts, revolving, just a real quick glance as to what is happening within this. And then it actually spreads out further and goes into the details of every single credit inquiry that they have on their credit report. So there's a couple different things that I kind of want to go over and highlight in this. Sometimes you'll see like a closed and then it'll have a past due amount. And if this date of closed and status as of that date, and there's still an amount, typically those are, or it says like charged off, there will be a little note that says whether or not they've like paid up that charge off amount. So the account got closed, there was still a balance left. Sometimes there's a little note that says, you know, paid as agreed to, and that means that they paid the charge off amount. Other times, if there's no note that states that it's paid as agreed to, it means that it was charged off and they haven't paid that back balance. Another thing that I kind of want to go over are these payment patterns. This information is typically the last 18 months of the account. So you'll see ones and then X's. This one, I don't think I put any X's in for the sample report. However, those X's indicate which months were either missed or late. So if you'll have like a 111X and then 1111, it'll state that like that X is a month where it wasn't either paid on time or wasn't paid at all. It was just a missed payment. So those are just a little couple weird things that show up on the credit report that I get questions about. So that's just one thing that I wanted to go over quickly in the credit report. And again, it just kind of gives you the status as to what's happening. So the next that I kind of want to go over is what happens with our origin and our criminal hits. So our origin is the tool that we usually start out all of our background investigations with. It verifies the social and address history, and then it pulls together multi-jurisdictional criminal hits that could potentially be name match, date of birth match for our subjects. Now, once we get an origin hit, what we do on our end is we'll open up either a county criminal based on our client's package, a developed criminal, which is our own internal investigation, or a statewide. And again, these are based on client packages. So we're going to put in the search based on what we're finding in here. So within that, origin kind of is a data scrape. It pulls the information. It doesn't necessarily pull all of the information. So you'll see in this one, I have an aggravated assault with intent to cause injury. We'll get that it's a felony. There's like sentencing date, offense date. However, it's showing that the disposition isn't provided by the source. So this just means that the origin pulled the information. However, it's not complete. It doesn't tell you the guilty. It doesn't tell you sentencing. It doesn't tell you a lot of the information that we like to put in. So again, you're going to find that information elsewhere within the report. The origin is kind of that executive summary. It's comparable where there's some information, but you're going to want to cross-reference within other inquiries within the report. The other thing I want to highlight is this duplicative note. So duplicative notes are what we used for to kind of protect our subjects and our clients and kind of go under the umbrella of FCRA. So FCRA dictates that duplicative notes that reports themselves, criminal information, if it's duplicated within a report, it needs to be clear that it's not duplicate offenses. So I'm going to go back to my little presentation here. So a duplicative note, not to be confused with duplicate, is a note where we comply with FCRA stipulations of accuracy, but also not to be misleading. So if we leave an origin hit as is and then add in like a developed criminal record as is, this gives the impression that there are two different convictions from the same court. And our way of protecting our company and our clients, we're alerting you guys with the use of a duplicative note stating that, hey, this hit in origin is the exact same offense that we have listed in this developed criminal record. Or again, it might be in a statewide, it might be in a cursory, it might be in a cyber. So like we'll put in notes anywhere within the report that states this is the exact same offense. It's not multiple offense, like it's not different cases. It's the same thing listed throughout the report. However, those other inquiries, the developed criminal record, the statewide, the county criminal, maybe a cyber investigation or a sex offender registry inquiry will have more details. I'm going to go back to my, whoop. I just pressed a button I didn't want to press. There we go. So I'm going back to my report here, and I do want to note that each source and each reporting source, so our developed criminal record, which usually comes directly from the courts, county criminal again comes directly from the courts, and statewide criminal, they have different information, and they provide their own information. So don't just stop at one. Make sure you're cross-referencing any additional report that has a duplicative, any additional inquiry that has duplicative note in there, because they might have different information. So sex offender registry will typically have additional information versus the court. They'll have, you know, what their registration level is, whether they're a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, the age of the victim, you know, that is different information than the case information will have. So that's just something I want to highlight, that the details may not be duplicative even if the case is. I'm going to scroll down to one of my other criminal. We'll go here. This is a county criminal history. You'll see that this is the case that was first listed at the top in the origin. It tells you exactly which court it came from, the jurisdiction, the state, and then again, that information. Here you'll find that duplicative note, and then it gives the charge, what it is. And then here we have our actual sentencing information. So they got 1 year jail, 5 years probation, $500 fines, and $250 costs. To kind of compare that, I have my cursory hit. All right, and then here is my sex offender registry. So I have, you know, they're on the registry, this is their offender ID, whether or not they're a risk, they're tier 2, different, like the sentencing information for the sex offense. So like this has different information than the criminal will have. So just be aware. We advise you guys to go through the full report and get all of the information, because each data source has different information. Okay. So one more thing that I kind of want to go over within our HTML report is sometimes our clients kind of request that they only want to print out, say, the education verification. And here I have all of these inquiries. And if you want to kind of limit what's on your PDF report, so if you just want like an education verification instead of the 40 pages that is this particular report, there is a way to do that and print out the PDF version of that report. So to do that, you would actually just deselect these little boxes here until you select only the inquiries that you want. I'm going to be deselecting for a minute here. Leave that education in there. All right. Now I'm going to open up another PDF version of my report. So here's my PDF version. The executive summary has the education. And here's the education verification. So it eliminates all the additional searches. So if you want to have a specific inquiry on a report or just a report for each different inquiry that you run, you have the option to do that. Just one more thing that I want to highlight on the background investigation report is occasionally we will upload supporting documentation to different inquiries that we run. So for cyber level 2, if we're finding something, we'll upload that information to the report. If it's a DMV lens, we'll upload that information to the report, and those actually will append towards the end of the report. So we'll get to the end of your report, you get your FCRA summary of rights, you'll have any state-specific forms that are attached, and then, like I said, this is Cyber 2. I've added this additional information regarding the Cyber 2. It likes to get stuck right here for some reason. Whoop, there we go. Here's our DMV lens hit, so we're uploading the DMV lens hit. Any of our clients that use the OMIG, GSA, or OIG searches, we'll upload those results as well. If we have a healthcare comply and it's actually a positive identification, we'll upload the licensing information as well as any disciplinary documents. So these are where they end up. They end up at the very bottom of the report. So just be aware that their report may have additional attachments based on what your package is and what inquiries we run and what we find that way. Okay. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to any questions or anything that you might have a concern about, or any thing you might want to see again. Whoop. All right.
All right, so if there's no questions right now, if you do come across anything that you'd like to reach out and ask us about, our phone number is on the screen. We have an 800 number as well as a 518 phone number. Also, our staff email address. You can always email us a question. We'll get it to the proper person that can answer it best for you. And then what we want to do is thank everyone for joining us today. And our next...
Hey, this is Aaron. I actually do have one question.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
For the maybe third or fourth time over the past few years, we've had a person come back with unverified social security number. And we have, questions about how that relates to their verification to even work in the United States, and how we know whether it's a small computer glitch or whether there's, a major red flag. But there's not like a simple link or anywhere on the report other than telling us there's some kind of red, rather than being green and verified, it's just red and unverified. But there's nothing to click on. There's nowhere to go. Shouldn't that lead me toward a proper form, or lead the applicant toward a second level of forms? And it's just kind of a red dead end.
And so for that, we actually have to go through a different website. Only some of us have access to it here. That we actually have to print out a specific form from the Social Security Administration.
So that's my question, from the user, in other words, from the clients, and from you have kind of a process. You have forms that you can select from, and how is it that our applicant can get at cleaner access to you and those forms, or even me as the representative of my company? How is it when I'm reading the report and say, oh, darn, there's not 4 green checks, there's 3 green checks and 1 red one. What is my next step?
Yeah, we can certainly set up a process so that anytime it comes back as unable to verify, we can certainly reach out to you and see if you want us to run that additional search, or we can just automatically run it at any time that we see that.
Well, that's typically the reason Brittany and I know each other so well, is because I'm at a dead end. That's when I call in and say, hell, where do I go? Because the report doesn't lead me toward any forms or any additional links to forward to the applicant, or that the applicant himself can say, hey, guess what? Your social security number came back unverified. Don't panic. We're not firing you, but please fill out this additional level of form.
Mhm.
You know, how can that be built in so that, you know, literally we have this applicant now who's been working for us for now several weeks, maybe 2 months. You know, we haven't really gone forward to verify their social security number correctly, nor have we terminated or suspended them. So it's because there's no clear pathway.
Mhm.
I think I already called in and he was forwarded the proper link, but he didn't fill it out correctly or follow it correctly. So everything's, you know, remains a little bit in limbo.
Mhm. Yeah, we can certainly set up a process, and I can put it in your account notes, stating that anytime, like right away, I notice that it's unable to verify, I can reach out to you, and then we can move forward with that link right away.
Right, because 100% of those times we will want to, you know, go forward to verify.
Okay, yeah, I can update your account notes now.
Well, thank you for the answer.
Of course.
And thank you all today.
Thanks, Aaron. That was a great question. Anybody else out there have any questions?
I just kind of want to add to that. So for that, because it usually comes at an additional cost, we do have a client, like we have clients that don't necessarily want to run it immediately. So we can, like I said, like Brittany said, we can personalize it to your account. So if you want to run it as soon as we see it, that's something that we can set up for you. So it's really a client and subject case by case. And like, as well as Brittany said, they do have to be very specific forms and they're made for the subject individually. So there's, we're looking at ways to like allow a subject to kind of reach out immediately. However, again, it's that client case by case type of relationship and setting up for you. So
I mean,
we can
I
absolutely.
think that
Go ahead.
makes sense. You know, in other words, as the representative or client, I don't mind being given the question, do I want to pay for it and go forward or do I not? But that the process be built in.
Sure, absolutely. And we can Brittany's going to build that in for you.
Yep, I just updated that, so anytime going forward, we'll certainly see that note in there.
Okay, thanks so much.
Of course.
Any other questions from anyone? All right, well, thank you for joining us. And again, our next CI Leading the Way webinar will be held next week on Tuesday, June 9th at 2 p.m. And our topic next week is going to be a town hall webinar. So we're going to be answering any questions that anyone may send in, something that they want to hear us talk about, questions they'd like to hear us answer. So if you have anything between now and then, feel free to send us an email, reach out. We'd be happy to answer those questions during the town hall webinar. So we hope to see you there. And if you have missed any of our prior recordings or you want to let anyone else on your team know to watch one or all of them, then you can just visit our website and there'll be more information there and a link to actually view all of the prior recordings. So again, thank you for joining us and I hope everybody has a great day. Take care.